Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chapple Show, and today we're going to be talking about the largest companies by revenue in the world. And number one will probably surprise you, so stay with me here. We're going to just go through some of the top, 15 companies, and you guys are going to guess what do you think what they are, and I'm going to drop some hints for you. So this is going to be a little bit of a fun video. So number 13, this company is a tech company. They make phones, TVs, cameras, and they aren't Apple. Do you have a guess? Number 13, I'll give you 2 seconds here. We're going to turn this around. Number 13 is Samsung. That's right, Samsung is 13th with a revenue of $177 billion last year. Isn't that amazing? So the number 13 in terms of revenues is Samsung. Quite interesting, right? So we're going to move on to the next one here. We're going to keep this as video, hopefully as short as possible here. So we're going to move on to number 11 here because number 12, most of you might not know it. So this company is a company that owns companies. This one's a weird one. This one, they own companies like Geico and Dairy Queen, and I think that they have an insurance company in there, or Geico is an insurance company. And should I drop the biggest hint possible? I think I will. So the biggest hint possible is the richest man in the world is the owner of this company. Or I guess he's the second, he's the third richest right now. Third richest person in the world right now owns this company. Take a guess. 3, 2, 1. Berkshire Hathaway. I wrote that terribly at the end there. But Berkshire Hathaway has a revenue of $211 billion last year. So the owner of that company, the majority holder, is Warren Buffett. So he owns the Geico, he owns Dairy Queen, he owns all those companies. I think that there's about 50 to 60 companies, or no, it might be 30, because he does one giant transaction every 2 years, right? So I guess he might have 30 big companies in there, probably more. But yeah, number 11 is he also owns a large portion of Coca-Cola too. So although he's not the majority owner like he is in some of the other companies. So number 11 is Berkshire Hathaway. So now we're going to get up to a few more here. I guess we can go to number 10. So number 10 is a company that everyone hated like 5 years ago because they had a pretty bad incident with the environment. And I'll give you a few more seconds here. Anyone have a guess? 3, 2, 1. BP Oil with a revenue of $223 billion. That's interesting, right? I mean, that they're still doing pretty well, even though they got pretty much shit on for 2 years for their horrible oil spill. And actually that movie came out. Didn't the Mark Wahlberg movie come out? Deepwater Horizon, which was about the BP oil spill? Was it just what? By the way, I have a question. I haven't looked this up. Maybe you guys can answer this. Was the BP oil spill, was it one drill that went haywire, or was it like multiple ones? I'm actually not quite sure what happened there. I think that must have been it, because it was a spill that kept happening and they couldn't contain it for a few days. I think that's what happened. So, anyways, that was number 10. We're gonna move up to number 9. We can talk about number 9. Everyone knows number 9. That's a pretty good tip here. They, in terms of profitability, I think that they might be number 1 in terms of profits per year. A very famous CEO that everyone idolized ran this company for a long time, and he was a dick. And it's a shame that a lot of CEOs kind of thought that made them okay to be a dick. All right, and that's a good way to run a company. It isn't. Be nice to all your employees, people. Number 9 most valuable company in terms of revenue is Apple, with $234 billion in revenue. I thought that they would be higher on this list, to be honest. I didn't think that they would be number 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, but I thought that they would be like 6, 7, 8-ish. We're not going to cover some of these here. I'm just going to say them out here, a few of them, because they aren't as interesting. Number 8 is Toyota, actually, and they have a revenue of $237 billion. Toyota. Really interesting, right? Number 7 is Volkswagen. I know. What the fuck? Even though both of which have had down years, though, this year, they both lost 4 and 11% respectively. Volkswagen still had a revenue of $237 billion last year. So we're going to get up to number 6. This one is interesting, I guess. Number 6, what should be a good tip for this one? This was one of John D. Rockefeller's subsections. Actually, no, we're going to combine number 5 and 6. Fuck it. We're going to combine number 5 and 6 because they were both what John D. Rockefeller owned. He actually owned a few of these, more of these. And they, let's see here. Yeah. And I guess that they are oil companies is what I should say. So do you guys have any idea? Any guesses? All right. I'll give you a few more seconds here. All right. So those two companies, number 5 and 6, are ExxonMobil, Exxon, also known as Esso to a lot of you, Esso, and we got Shell, and they have revenues of $248 billion and 271 billion, I believe. Or was it 246 and 272. Actually, they had revenues of 246 billion and 272 billion. So quite interesting. Those are like they're still like worldwide oil companies, but they aren't actually the biggest oil companies in the world. In fact, the ranking for the number 2 through 4, so there's 3 companies that are all oil companies, and they're not American, and that they're, 2 through 4 in terms of the most valuable in terms of revenue. So the number 2 through 4, they are actually, I'm not even going to write them out here. They're just, the names are too long, so here. So the number 2 through 4 are actually Chinese oil companies. And so number 2 is State Grid, and they have a revenue of $330 billion. Number 3 is the China National Petroleum Company with a revenue of $299 billion. And the 4th is the Sinopec Group, and they have a revenue of $294 billion. Think about that for a second. China has 3 of the top 4 most valuable companies in terms of revenue per year. Isn't that interesting? Now, we're going to get to the number 1 company and then the actual number 1 company, and I'll explain what that is. So, what do you think is the number 1 in terms of highest revenue in the world per year? You guys all know this. Think about this. What are some of the biggest brands in the world? We covered Apple already. They were number, 9? And what do you think? I'm going to let you guess what their revenue is too. So keep in mind, the number 2 company in the world had a revenue of $330 billion. What do you think that the number 1 company in the world has? Well, their revenue, number 1 company, is $482 billion per year. That's $152 billion more than the second place one. What is that company? Made in America, Walmart. Walmart is the most valuable company, in air quotations, because there's one that's bigger, but no one accounts for it. So Walmart is the biggest company in the world. In fact, if Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, the actual founder of Walmart, were alive today, he would have a net worth of about $160 billion, or about twice that of the richest man in the world, Bill Gates. That is something to put in perspective right now. Sam Walton's kids each got a share of Walmart, so they're each billionaires. But he had all of those shares when he was still alive, which I think he died 20 years ago, roughly. He would be the richest man in the world right now. Quite interesting. Right now, we're going to get into the actual richest company in the world. I can guarantee you that, unless you've heard it from my channel before, there's 99% chance you've never heard of this before. So those other companies we mentioned before are ones with open books. They're more public companies, and they're public companies, so you can see their books. But there's one company that it's not even fucking close in terms of the value of the company. So I'll give you a hint here. Actually, I'll let you guess. What country do you think it's from? I'll give you a few seconds. It's not from the United States. It's from a Middle Eastern country. Weird, right? And so let's just see here. In terms of, there's no exact revenue number, but we're going to say the value of the company. Because to be honest, they're such a large company, I don't even know if they could keep track of it, like even to tens of millions of dollars. They couldn't do that. So this company is a Middle Eastern company, and it is from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Aramco. You can look this up. They have a value of $1 to $10 trillion. We're not talking billion. We're talking a value that is 2 to 20 times more than Apple right now. Apple's actually the most valuable publicly traded company in terms of what it's traded for on the market. But even though it's like ninth in revenue, it's because it's a tech company. That's a long story. But this Saudi Aramco, it's quite astounding how valuable this company is. Actually, let me backtrack a little bit here. So I actually was able to find part of their revenue. It's kind of an iffy number, and it's from like 10 years ago. So it's probably in a range of $300 to $700 billion. Is that correct? Although it probably took a hit this year last year because the oil went down the shitter with all the fracking stuff, right? So in terms of revenue, they might actually not be the largest. It might still be Walmart in terms of largest companies in the world, but this isn't updated, right? And they have 65,000 employees. But one interesting fact is that this one single company physically employs so much of Saudi Arabia, and they pay their heating bill and taxes and stuff. I don't even know if Saudi Arabia has taxes. I saw an NPR podcast. It was called Planet Money, and a very large portion of people in Saudi Arabia don't pay taxes because there's so much oil there that it's all government oil, government oil. That a lot of people don't have to pay taxes whatsoever there. Quite interesting, right? And it's thanks to companies like this, Saudi Aramco. So in terms of revenue, they might actually still be behind Walmart, but they are the most valuable company in the world because of all their assets, I'm assuming, and they've been around for so long. I'm guessing that's what it is. That's just a pure guess. So I guess, you know what? Walmart still could be the number one. Wow, that is quite astounding. I didn't know that Walmart would have the most revenue over Saudi Aramco. I should have double checked that before making this video, to be honest. By the way, I'm just looking up some stats on this Saudi Aramco right now as I'm doing this video, which I normally don't do. 1 out of 8 barrels of oil produced in the world is from this one fucking company. Oh my, 261 billion barrels of oil in reserves. Oh my God. Oh, that's just the reserves. And they make 1.4 million barrels of oil per day. So when I said that they were like a government oil company, here's something interesting. So 93% of their total profit goes to the state. They pretty much pay 93% tax, which is quite interesting. So it's like a state-run company, which is why most people don't have to pay income tax, because they just fucking tax the shit out of this one company. That's really weird, right? 93% tax. Why? Anyways, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you learned a little something about Saudi Aramco. I actually kind of did. I thought I knew a little bit about Saudi Aramco, and just the fact that 1 out of 8 barrels is produced there. Oh my God. But yeah, hopefully you learned a little bit. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. You're all very beautiful people. See you guys in the next video.